know a team that might go on a run?
Who's that?
Team just fired their offense coordinator.
Ooh.
Yeah, sure.
Chicago Bears have officially removed Shane Waldron as the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears as of this morning. Eberflus spoke yesterday, and obviously he had a lot to say, and he said Shane is our offense coordinator as of now. This morning, I guess they had more meetings, more conversations. Shane Waldron as the OC for the Chicago Bears. Let's go back to this offseason when Jackson Smith and Jigba was speaking with a Chicago talk show, and they asked about Shane Waldron, who obviously was the offense coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks last year. Jackson Smith and Jigba obviously on the Seattle Seahawks. So, right question would be, what are we getting here? Let's take a listen.
Bears fans are super interested about the offensive coordinator coming in, Shane Waldron. What can you tell them about who they just hired to try to get this offense where it needs to go?
This is live?
We're not live. We're not live.
I'm playing. Good luck to y'all. I mean, he's a
okay.
He's
All
a great
right. So,
person.
I mean, that was literally how it started. And Jackson Smith and Jigba was out. He's young, rookie. Okay, so what does he know? Who knows? But I think what a lot of people in Seattle knew was the offense wasn't, fantastic. So then there was a lot of chatter this morning on the morning shows on ESPN about how nobody really wanted to go in there and be the OC. Eberflus, how long of a leash does he have as the Chicago Bears head coach? You have a lot of weapons, don't have an offensive line. Well, let's look at some of the stats we got, obviously, about the Chicago Bears offense thus far. Highest sack rate in the NFL. 10.7% of the dropbacks. 28th in explosive play rate, 4.2% of the plays. 23rd in success rate on first down. And then, obviously, they've scored an NFL low 10 points in the first quarter across 22 drives. Now, there's a lot more stats to say that they stink. Sure. I think we all see that. Offensive line, not fantastic. Sure. The sacks, is that on the O-line, all of them? Or is it on Caleb? I think he got sacked like 9 times last week, whatever the case is, 35 sacks total. I mean, it is a lot of times him being tackled. Is it because of him? Is it because of the offensive line? Is it because of the plays? Nobody's open. Who knows? But what they did know is that Shane Waldron can't be the guy in control of this offense anymore. Let's go to 9-year NFL vet, host of Everything DB, Good D, Bad D. Ladies and gentlemen, Darius J. Butler is here looking very cool. D-Butch, what are your thoughts on the move? I think expected.
Yeah.
I think it is a good way to describe it. But is this something that's going to turn their season around, or at least the future?
I mean, we kind of saw this coming. It's hard to say turning the future around or turning things around even this season. You still got the same personnel. How much can the new OC Thomas Brown, who was their pass game coordinator, he was previously in Carolina with Frank Wright with Bryce Young. And so when you get these young quarterbacks,
that make you feel good.
Number one, first and foremost.
Okay.
Yeah. But hey, there's been some good things said from the people in the building. I know that's been around Thomas Brown, big accountability guy, which we obviously know we need that. But for the quarterbacks, man, it always starts with protection. First and foremost, you got to have the protection up front. Some of the things, I don't know what's going on in the building. Some of the things are obviously on Caleb Williams. A lot of people are saying Caleb is, regressing. He's played 10 games in the National Football League. This is kind of who he is right now as a quarterback. Obviously, we know he's talented, but you got to have protection so that you can actually get some use and production out of those great weapons that they do have outside. But off-target throws, spacing, not a bunch of defined throws and reads for Caleb right now. So hopefully they can fix that and see, what he can really do with his talent. Yeah,
allegedly there was a couple meetings that were had by veteran players that went and spoke to Poles, Andy Eberflus, and asked for Shane Waldron's removal. Say, listen, this ain't, okay? We ain't doing this anymore. This guy. How come whenever they put what our offense looks like on camera, or in ours looks so stupid, and then everybody else's looks so awesome? That's because Shane Waldron. And then allegedly, there was also some people saying like, hey, maybe Tyler.
The bag man.
Bagent, the world's strongest. Yeah. Allegedly, that was a report out of Waddle and Sylvie, which I believe is a very legit show out of Chicago, right, Zito?
Yep.
Been around a long time, Sylvie, Waddle and Sylvie, sports radio. Wow. After talking to a few people with knowledge of the situation, players went to Eberflus and Ryan Poles asking them to make a change in offense coordinator. There have also been a few veteran players requesting that Bagent starts. And obviously we watch Hard Knocks. We got a chance to learn about Bagent, his dad, and everything like that. Are they asking for Bagent to start because they think Caleb needs to just watch for a little bit? Like, hey, we think he's been thrusted into a situation where it hasn't gone well. He's getting his ass beat out there, sacked more than anybody else in the NFL. We're already through one offense coordinator. Is there a chance maybe for Caleb just to sit back and watch and see kind of how this whole thing goes, takes a deep breath and moves forward? Are they saying that? Or are they saying, we don't think this guy's got it. We would like Tyler Bagent to come in and find out if he's got it. There's multiple different ways you can look at it because obviously there's a bunch of different situations that have happened in the past around the NFL. Let's just look at this year. Bryce Young gets benched for Andy Dalton this year. Gets a different perspective at it for the first time in his life. He's not the guy that's expected to do everything for a program, be a quarterback of the organization, in the meetings, in practice, in the cafeteria, in the locker room, everywhere. You know, you're the starting quarterback. It's a different game. He got a chance to sit back, watch it, reevaluate, take a breath. I think he probably got a chance to take a breath. And now he gets back in. They're winning games.
Yeah.
Carolina Panthers are winning game. All of a sudden, it's a vastly different situation. You look at Anthony Richardson with what's going on right now with Joe Flacco. Will he take this as a chance to take a breath and take a perspective change, learn a little bit, kind of realize it's a little different game than whenever he goes back? Is he going to benefit from it? Is that why they're pitching for him not to play? Or is it because they think he stinks? Because there are stats that come out in any rebuttal from Caleb Williams or his camp would be, have you seen who's protecting for him?
Yeah.
No offense has ever been good without a good offensive line. But there's a lot of stats coming out that maybe, you know, the reason why the offensive line is bad is because sometimes he doesn't make the right decision. And then when he doesn't make the right decision, plays extended, and he can't do as much as that shit as you did in college, so then you're going to get sacked. There's always going to be counter arguments in this entire thing. But whenever you talk about off-target throws and everything like this, what do you think Shane Waldron is saying today? Do you think Shane Waldron is saying, well, I was supposed to have a guy that was supposed to be a magic man. They're calling him Patrick Mahomes. He's not Patrick Mahomes, or do you think he understands that he was just not a great offensive coordinator for any of the situations?
Yeah, I mean, he's young. Like we always go back. Like it's hard to play in the National Football League. I don't care where you drafted, number 1, 100, 150. Like it's tough to come in and play. And Shane did a good job with Geno Smith. But Geno Smith was some over the high pick. I think a second-round pick. Had been around, had been a backup, had seen things, had been in different systems, different meeting rooms around different quarterbacks. So when he got to Seattle and had another opportunity, he had saw it from so many different perspectives. So for Caleb Williams, as talented as he is, and this big pedestal, high pedestal that a lot of us put him on coming into the league, especially with the setup that they had in Chicago, we just expected more. But it's tough to come in this league and play well. We've seen flashes. I've seen enough to know, okay, he can play on this level. He has the physical tools, not only the mobility, but the arm strength, the accuracy, all those different things. But you just got to learn. You got to go through some of these patches. Same thing with Anthony Richardson, same thing with Bryce Young. And then some of these guys will come out and be better on the other side. So, you know, hopefully that's what we see here with Caleb. You hate, because we see this story so many times with young quarterbacks. You know, you get to year 3, year 4, and they've been through 4 or 5 different coordinators or different voices, so that's tough to get some continuity there. But I think the future is still bright for Caleb.
So Caleb, regardless of what happens, unless old buddy comes in and just kills it and operates the same offense that Shane Waldron was operating, which you wouldn't because that offense was obviously terrible. So next year he's going to be on his 3rd offense in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? Because Lincoln Riley, USC, then this one, then the next year. Yep. And let's say they don't figure out the offensive line or that offense isn't great. What are you going to have to do? Well, he's number 1 overall pick, so we're going to have to make – then he's going to be in his 4th offense in 4 years. And then all of a sudden, if they do have success next year, let's say they do have success next year, while that offense coordinator is getting plucked, go somewhere, he's going to be – it's like a never-ending supply of you're going to have to adapt and get things right early. Now, I think one half of the hammer, Don Cowboys AP Tone's face just lit up about is because this is the 8th member of Eberflus's coaching staff that has either resigned or been fired in the last 14 months. Oh, no. Okay? So normally, whenever you're standing in the middle of a fire, inevitably it's going to catch up.
Of course.
You know, you can kind of get the couch that's on fire, get it out of the house.
Sure.
You can get the recliner out of the house. You can get maybe the cabinets or whatever, you can get them out. But inevitably that thing is going to, you know, you can do this a lot and then it's going to at some point come this way. So I think a lot of people in Chicago are potentially expecting head coaching change at the end of this season. And if they do that, who do they go get? Is it a guy that maybe is no longer the cock of the walk at the university in which he is the head coach and knows Caleb very, very well in Lincoln Riley? Or is it a guy who has been an offensive coordinator in college at USC, has been a head coach in the NFL before, and is now leading a rookie quarterback to another historic season in Cliff Kingsbury? Is it Ben Johnson? Is it Slowick? There's a lot of opportunity out there, but nonetheless, all of it kind of revolves around another offense coming in next year for Caleb Williams. So Dan Quinn goes to Washington. He brings in Cliff Kingsbury, though, for Jaden Daniels. Obviously works out very well. Gerard Mayo, defensive coach, with Drake May up there, brings in
Alex Van Pelt,
who has worked in the offense before. Eberflus getting the top. These are all the top 3 picks, obviously. Eberflus brings in Shane Waldron.
Legend.
the guy.
He was 25th in pass protection, I think, last year for the Seattle Seahawks as well, which obviously is something to think about.
What did you expect?
Here's some stats from Hembo about Caleb Williams in the offensive line potentially not being a problem. Okay. Caleb Williams took 9 sacks against a Patriots defense against which no other QB took more than 3. Okay, so that's saying maybe still offensive line. Caleb Williams is the only quarterback to take 15 sacks in a 2-game span this season. Wow, that's a lot of hits there. He leads the NFL with 19 sacks when his O-line records a pass block win. When it comes to stats. Okay, so he leads the NFL with that. 19 of them whenever the offensive line is considered a win by stats people.
Sure.
So you take that however you want. He co-leads with the NFL, Deshaun Watson, with 27 sacks on extended dropbacks, which is 4+ seconds after the snap. Okay, so 27 of these sacks are 4+ seconds. He got 35 of them, I think, in total. So that's a lot of that. And then obviously Chicago, the last 2 games against Arizona and New England, 23 drives, 0 touchdowns, and all that could potentially be real. Those are stats from Hembo right there. So 27 sacks on 4+ second plays. Wow. Interesting. Joining now is a man who I assume just heard that and his skin started crawling. A guy who only wants to block for 2.5 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, Super Bowl champion, 12-year NFL vet, host of the OG In the Trenches show.
Oh, yeah.
AQ Shipley.
AQ.
AQ, what do these stats mean that I just read? What matters, what doesn't matter? Obviously, stats people deciding if the offensive line won or lost is certainly something, but that 4+ second sack thing, that's the biggest, the most telling one, or does their offensive line suck?
That literally just made my head explode.
Okay.
Made my head explode.
All right.
Whenever you hear 4 seconds, that's on the quarterback. Like, you can't sit there and expect anybody to hold up for 4 seconds. Obviously, you have a running quarterback. You have a guy that comes from a college system where maybe he can get through progressions. He can sit back there for 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. Can't happen in the NFL. Just can't happen. And you can't blame that on the offensive line. Ball has to get out. Get your read. Get your progression. Back foot hits the ground. One hitch forward. Ball's got to be out. Like, right there. Like, even that, like, I'd rather you throw the ball away and not have a sack. Like, the offensive line, skin's crawling whenever you see these.
Okay, so Shane Waldron's fault for not teaching this and letting him know that this is how this is? Like, how much of the blame do you think is on OC? And I know we're not in the building, so we don't know what the play calls are. We're not in the building. We don't know any of this. But OC can definitely take a lot of the heat for this, or no?
I mean, I think it's more on the quarterback coach than anybody else, right? The OC is the one putting the game plan together. He's putting the scheme in. And then at the end of the day, like, the quarterback coach has to sit there and be like, hey, listen, like, if you don't like it by 1, 2, okay, let's throw this thing away and live to fight another down.
Interesting. Do you think changing of offense coordinator in the middle of the season is good for Caleb, bad for Caleb?
I think any type of change. I mean, listen, like, I mean, a lot of these, the offensive line is on edge, like that right there. That's clearly on the offensive line. But if we're sitting back there and we got a wall protected and he's sitting back there 3, 4 seconds, like, that ball has to get out. Either get it to a guy or throw it away, period.
Shane Waldron's offense has not been good with protecting the quarterback over the last 2 years, as the stats that we see. Is there a chance that it's really hard to find people that are good at coaching?
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing.
Because everybody's making fun of the Bears right now, right? Everybody's making fun of the Bears for this entire thing. It's like there's a lot of coaches that get fired, and there's a lot of people that are supposed to be experts, and there's a lot of people that are very good coaches other places, and then come in and they stink. It's like, I think finding good coaches is not easy.
So tough.
I think it's a very, very difficult thing to do, personally.
The biggest thing that I keep talking about all the time, right? Like, Shane Waldron comes from a place where he has a system. That system may not necessarily fit a Caleb Williams. And so that's where it does fall on the offensive coordinator, right? Like, you have to adjust and adapt to your personnel. Period. And that's what makes good coaches. You can't sit here and run a Marcus Mariota offense with a statue quarterback. Like, it's not going to work, right? And so if you have a guy, you have to use his skill set and you have to find what works. And if we're sitting there just doing the same thing over and over and over again and it's not working, we have to find a way to adapt and become a better football team. And that falls on the offensive coordinator. And that's why I think there's a change. The biggest thing we talk about, though, all the time is mid-season, 10 weeks into the season, terminology's already put in. Plays are already put in. These guys understand. You're not going to sit there if something's too jet as the protection. Like, we're not coming in and changing the protections. We're still running 2 jets. So now that falls on the players, right? You can only blame so many people before it becomes a problem, and then it falls on the head coach.
8 coaches have been fired or resigned from Eberflus's staff in the last 14 months. The Bears have scored. This guy was an NFL Super Bowl champion coach.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Don't forget
Player coach. He was Jackie Moon, this guy. Coached Bucks and played for the Bucks.
Yep.
Won a
Yep.
Jackie Moon. The Bears have scored an NFL low 10 points in the first quarter across 22 drives. Who's that on? How's that work?
That's execution. That's on the coordinator, period, because you script your first 15 plays. That is something you work on all week. That is your best 15 plays of the game plan to go out and execute and score. The Eagles have this same statistic. Like, they weren't scoring on the first drive forever. That comes down to preparation. That comes down to game plan. That is all
Easy.
Easy. Sirianni's got the boys hung
Yeah,
over.
Eagles are playing great.
Yeah, they are. They're 7-2. Everybody forgets.
Top
And
of
they
the
got
division.
they got a good old line. This may make AQ's skin crawl a little bit, but I don't think that there aren't very many good offensive lines in the league right now, period.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, like, obviously the Bears are one of the bunches,
Only
but
5 of them.
Eagles, they're on AQ's list. Detroit's on
Same 5
AQ's
Washington
every
every
week.
week.
Baltimore. Like, outside of that, Cardinals, I think they're playing pretty good. So, like, that's what, 5, 6 maybe? AQ, what you think about the O-line play, I guess, across the league?
Yeah, it's down. There's no question about that. And I think that, again, we go back to the college game, right? I don't think they're preparing these guys for this level. And so, DB, we had this conversation last week. I come up with the top 5 every week. Honest to God, some weeks you got your 3, your mainstays, right? It's going to be Ravens, Lions, and Eagles, right? Like, that's your mainstays. Commanders are probably in there as number 4, right? And then Cardinals are probably your top 5. But if any one of those have a down week, I'm struggling to find 4 and 5 for the week.
All right.
Yikes.
So maybe it isn't just the O-line's bad, we got to be bad, because it feels like everybody's dealing with that issue, except for the teams that are going to be around in the end. That's literally
Yeah.
Have we figured out who already is going to be left strictly because of how they protect and how they can do it? Possibly. How come more teams don't pay attention to it? How come that's not a focal point of building a team? We talked to Coach Harbaugh. You talked to Belichick yesterday. He was like, well, Belichick said, I don't think Chicago wanted to be a tough physical team. Their first investment was a wide receiver and a running back, and then they do this. Harbaugh goes in there, offensive line, give me 2 tackles. The first pick is going to be this. This is exactly how we're doing it. It almost sets the tone for the entire team. Like, hey, this is what we care about right here.
You had to get under the cap. Who they get rid of? Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and they kept Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack instead.
Yeah, like, hey, just so we're all clear, this is how this is going.
O-line, D-line.
Drafted Joe Alt.
Yep.
With Neighbors, Rome, and those guys on the board.
AQ, if you guys had better personalities, maybe more people would respect the offense. That's the entirety of it. I just want to let you know
What's your
that.
problem?
Okay, all right. Thanks for joining us, AQ. Have a good one. See you Thursday or Wednesday. See you tomorrow. And the 4+ second stat, I wish we would have had his face up there.
Yeah, so
Because obviously I was reading it as it came in there.
That's crazy.
And just listen to him with 4. What is this, a punt? How long are we?
Exactly.
How long is this play going to last? Yeah, and some of those I saw though. They were just running scot-free. For sure.
there were a few, definitely, but like the one where he's rolling out to the left, that is supposed to be what, like a quick throw
Right,
if
like
you're
a sprint
moving
out pass, yeah.
And then instead of throwing it away, he just holds on to it and takes a sack.
Yeah, and it's like we wondered.
Exactly.
Very loudly wondered. Can Caleb do Caleb shit in the NFL? Because the Caleb magic stuff that he was doing in college, which was
sick,
electrifying, must watch. We're talking high stepping out of sacks, moving around people. Just every week it was something going crazy. Can he do that against grown men?
That's the best.
Who are the fastest men that have been drafted from each draft class for the last 15 years. Will he be able to pull it off whenever there's people who are getting paid millions of dollars? Not that it isn't happening in college, but not everywhere. Millions and millions of dollars to try to stop you. And is it going to happen against guys who are 280 pounds somehow running 4.4s? Like, is he still going to be able to do it? I think he still does have the magic in there.
Yes.
I still think the Caleb Williams thing exists, but he's going to have to tamper it. And I think if an offense coordinator doesn't match him or want him to do his shit, it's never going to work. So whoever they get there next, I think they have to understand who Caleb is, what Caleb is, and let's kind of make the most out of Caleb Williams, the NFL coach.
I think he can still do all those things. We've seen flashes of him doing it now. You can't do it every game. You can't do it every quarter. And we see it with like Lamar Jackson is a very obviously different quarterback than Caleb. But even with Lamar, you have to, at some point in the NFL, you got to play on time. you got to be able to play and win from the pocket. And that's where we've seen Lamar make his biggest steps in games. Like you got Kyler Murray, he's playing his best ball this year. He's playing much more on time, reading things from the pocket, making throws. And then when Kyler has to be special, Kyler could be special. Josh Allen, same thing. So like at some point, when you let those special traits take over, that's why these guys are these guys and can elevate different play. Like Justin Herbert's another guy who went through 3 different coordinators in his 3 first years, but he was special. He was off the charts. But now we're seeing, Harbaugh talked about it yesterday, you don't have to play hero ball. Like let the other guys do their job. When it's your time to be special, be special.
And then I think that's a big reason why Bears fans are so frustrated too, because obviously circumstances are different, but like that's exactly what Jaden Daniels is doing in Washington. Like we know how special he is with his legs, but like he's winning from the pocket, and then if he has to get out and run, he will. But he's not looking to extend the play on every single play and have an explosive play on every single play like it looks like Caleb is. And look how good Washington's doing.
How about Jim Harbaugh? Herbert's a hero. You know, so
Guardian.
He's guardian of victory. He's inhuman.
Everything.
Half man, half beast. Carrying bricks, keystones. He was actually carrying, which he was awesome talking about.
The man.
But watching Jaden, watching CJ last year, it's like there is an expectation of you to be able to figure it out quicker. Caleb obviously is going through another transition into another offensive coordinator who spent 4 years with Shane Waldron, I guess, in Seattle, has come over with him. So I don't know how much will be different. Maybe different play calls, different timing, and everything like that. But there's some numbers coming out about the McCaskey era, the George McCaskey era. 12 years, 3 general managers, 4 head coaches, 10 offense coordinators, 0 playoff wins. All right, good luck, Chicago.
Yeah.